You're listening to the Pine Room Podcast, the home of sports, gambling, entertainment, and whatever the hell else has gone on this week. So pull up a seat by the fire, crack open a cold one, and make sure to get your bets in. Welcome to the Pine Room.
All right, greetings. Welcome in. It is the Pine Room here. We are really lucky to be joined by two ladies that I was lucky enough to meet over at Abby's a few weeks ago as they were in town doing an incredible documentary series on the dog racing industry. Going to have you tell us a lot about that. But Josephine and Lin, who are originally both from Denmark, join us today on the program. Josephine is in Denmark right now in Copenhagen, and Lin is on the west coast of the United States in Los Angeles, and they're joining myself, Coach Jubb, and Jarrett here in the Pine Room Studios in downtown Wheeling. Ladies, thank you for taking time out of your day, your busy schedules. We're keeping Josephine up late. Lin, you probably just got up a little bit ago. But anyway, welcome to the Pine Room. We're really honored to have you here with us.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Yes. So I met you ladies at Abby's a few weeks ago. You had met my brother a couple nights before, told him about what you were doing, and we struck up a conversation. I got you a few interviews with some classic Wheeling legends, including George Kettlewell and Chris, a member of our Pine Room family. And I'm going to let you talk about it, but what you ladies are doing is really incredible as you're doing a documentary on the dog racing industry. And normally the dog racing industry takes a lot of black marks in the world today. People are always talking about how negative it is, but you're trying to do something that's going to show it in a positive light and how many people's lives are affected by this, and what it brings as far as joy and just your people that depend on it to live. And it's really great work, as we only have 2 tracks left in the United States, both here in West Virginia. I work at one of them, which is also very odd that I was able to talk to them about. They were very well familiar with my property and the dog racing industry that goes on at Wheeling Island and at Southland, or Tri-State, as they or actually not Southland anymore, but it's just Tri-State or Cross Lanes. But anyway, ladies, I guess let me start with Lin first. Tell us a little bit just about how, kind of what you told me at Abby's about how you guys got this idea to do this and kind of your history about the dog racing in your own lives.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having us. And that was a lovely intro. Yeah, so we got interested in the dog racing because we started, let me backtrack a little bit, because I used to go to the dog racing in the UK when I lived there to go to school, and it was a thriving industry, and lots of people show up, and I really enjoyed always going to the tracks. And so when I moved to the US 10 years ago, there were a lot more tracks. And then in the last, few years, I noticed that a lot of them were closing, and and all of a sudden realized that there were only some tracks left in Florida, and then they closed. And Josefine and I got talking about what was happening, why all these tracks were closing, and if there were any left. And then we discovered that there were the 2 tracks in West Virginia as the only 2 left in the country. And we just started being more and more curious as to why that was happening, and also sad to see all the tracks go, because we have never, in the UK, there's never been I've never experienced any negativity around the racing industry. And then all of a sudden, that was all I was seeing in America. And I thought that was really sad. And so we were also really curious about what was going to happen with all the people working at the tracks in Florida, and also with because of course the tracks are the tracks, but there are so many more people involved in the greyhound racing industry, all the kennels, the adoption people, the handlers, everybody, the breeders, so many people are affected by the closures in all the other states. And so we figured we wanted to come out to West Virginia and to Wheeling and meet everybody who's still fighting for this industry to keep going. And we obviously hope that it will. We don't see it as an industry that's necessarily going to go away, but we really wanted to, just come out and get a better sense of what's going on in West Virginia too. And hope to shine a more positive light on the greyhound racing industry, and especially also telling the story of how it could potentially affect the local community if the tracks close, which we hope they don't. And our perspective is definitely not that they will close. We're absolutely not. So so then we came out to Wheeling, and we were really welcomed by all the people in the dog raising industry and everybody in Wheeling. And so now we feel even more passionate about telling the story of the community in Wheeling from the perspective of the people working with the greyhounds, but also everyone else who's telling us, like you did, Matt, like how if the racetrack closes, it'll also affect Wheeling, the town of Wheeling itself. Is what we hear when we talk to people who own businesses and live there. So, no,
and now let me go over to Josephine now. Josephine, you're a film school student. Talk a little bit about your ideas to actually make this into a documentary, and just what all went into the process.
Yeah, actually, I graduated in January, but this is like Lin and I's first like Danish-American production together.
Right.
We just talked about today that it's really nice that we're able to do everything ourselves. We don't have like a network or someone giving us money to we don't come with an agenda or anything. Right. I think that's the most the greatest thing about what we are able to do out in Wheeling, West Virginia now. I think, as Lin was saying, we're trying to tell, because for me, I think it was like I never really even knew that dog racing existed before Lin was trying to let me know what was going on, and they're closing, and I'm like, wait, do we have dog racing in Denmark? And I didn't know what was going on. But then looking into it, I was like, okay, wait, it's like a whole industry, and it's like this trickle down system with the people, as Lin say, even providing the food for the dogs and everything like that. But my point of view is, I think this story has not been told from a human perspective yet. It seems to be about the dogs when people try to attack the industry or whatever. It's like the dogs, and I think it's much bigger than that. It's also the dogs, of course, but it's also the people working in this industry. And I think it's super important for me and Lin to try to get that personal experience with people who are actually with the dogs every day, and people who have been in this industry for generations, because a lot of the people we meet are third generation or fourth generation, or their grandfather had a kennel, and the children want to work with the dogs when they grow up, but can they? And it's it's just a very interesting perspective from the human side too, not only the dog side, because that seems to be the media angle, is that it's there's all these spins about the dogs, and it's not really about the communities or the industry. Yeah.
Now that's very well said, and that's what you two ladies, very warm personalities, really easy to talk to, really thoroughly enjoyed meeting you and talking with you. And, these guys can attest to it. The dog racing is really important. I mean, these guys, one of their best friends, his dad owns the kennel, came up from Florida. Coach knows a lot of these kennel owners around the area. And obviously it's been very important to Wheeling for a long time. But it was so nice to meet you and have and have a perspective from people from outside that was positive for once. Which you said it, like, it's always negative. It's all you ever see is, oh, the poor dogs are living in cages and their lives are terrible, and on and on and on. Talk a little bit about, I guess I'll go back to Lin first and then Josephine follow up, but talk a little bit about what you've discovered so far in meeting the people, and what your thoughts were and your first, just your instincts about being around it. It's not as bad as what people are portraying it as, is it? Maybe the contrary. Maybe these dogs live great lives.
That's what it's funny because the first day we spent with the people that work with the dogs, all of them said, these dogs live better lives than we do. And of course, that's what we see too. They take really good care of them, and they handle them with such great care, and they really have a passion for doing this work. And a lot of them say that, they can't really imagine doing anything else. Some of them have tried to leave the raising industry and then had other jobs, and they always come back because it's a nice environment to be in. And I think we were met with such warmth, and like people were really welcoming. And what we were talking about were that we talked about how it seems that maybe the negativity comes from people who've maybe never even been to a kennel or a racetrack, or, seen the way these dogs live, and also the way they are when they come off the track or about to race. They're so happy, they love it. Right. And I think, especially for us, what we really see is that the people care so much. It's hard to overlook that when we are with the dogs and with the people, and when we're at the racetrack. And yes, we also talked to a lot of people in Wheeling, I think, including you, Matt, that about how there used to be way more people at the races.
Sure. Yep.
But nevertheless, the people that are there are having a great time. And yes, maybe there were more money in the industry 30 years ago and times have changed, but there are still people who enjoy this and are invested in it and love it. And we just think, why it would be really sad to see that go from a community. And I was about to swear, but we definitely
don't do that on here.
You're allowed here.
Okay.
We're not live.
Well, we definitely don't see any of the negativity that we've read from other media outlets apply to the track at Wheeling Island whatsoever. So I think that's a big, it's something we kept saying, if only all those people could come and look those dogs in the eyes, and the people working with the dogs, and see that it's a great community.
So that's what we're trying to create, because not everyone can come to Wheeling.
Right. Now,
but on a positive note, I think that, like we were talking about at Abby's, it's like, they also feel when now being the only place in America where you can actually watch live greyhound racing, they feel like the small economy boost of people coming there, because we've met people that have come from Canada and drove 7 hours to be there for a week and bet on the dogs and have a good time, and families that come from different states to go there. So that's obviously big for Wheeling, I guess, in some sense. But and the other thing is, if I can comment on what Lin said, I think that
yes, please.
Did you guys watch the little thing we edited for you?
Yes, I did. Yep, absolutely.
Serial?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yep. I actually forgot to send it to these guys, but yeah. But it was really good. I actually meant to send it to Job, especially because he's kind of into that stuff that you do too, so he would have liked to have seen that. But I'll send it to him after this. But you can go ahead and elaborate. You did have great interviews in there and some really cool insight.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome to use the sound on this podcast too if you want to. But
great.
Yeah, actually we have a clip with one of the persons working down there saying that one time he went 2 years without taking a single day off.
Yeah.
And I think it's super saying for people who work in a really great environment, because not many like other industries have workers saying that, I think.
Right.
That they want to work every day and they almost don't see it as a job because it's like so giving for them to be around the animals, but also they have a lot of fun at the paddock down there. And yeah, I think that was just I think especially in Denmark also, I don't know a single person who could say they had 2 years without taking a day off. Like,
Right.
and it's, there was something else to experience for sure.
That is amazing how it's part of these people's lives. And I want to go over to you two guys. You guys probably were up in the kennels before with Cooley and saw some of this stuff. What were your observations?
Well,
Tell the girls.
I wanted to go back on that, like the negativity. Like Matt said, growing up, our best friend who's also on the show, his father owns a kennel. And we used to go down to the kennels all the time. It was the coolest thing that we would get to go. And one of the biggest things I remember is that every day these dogs would get fed these massive things of food, like of these like ribs. What was it, Jumbo?
Yeah,
it was like
big racks of ribs.
Yeah.
They were like, I mean, these incredibly protein-packed meals, and like they're not skimping the dogs. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and it was something that we looked forward to, and going in and seeing the dogs. And although they were in cages, I mean, what are you going to do? Let them run around
for their own safety too.
Yeah, and but it was so cool to go in and see these dogs. So is the negativity mostly how they live? Is that what people are upset about?
I think there've been like multiple clickbait scandals, like the cocaine one. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah.
It's like
That's actually a guy in Wheeling.
Yeah.
And oh, really?
Well, he's here now. He was originally in Florida, but yeah.
That is, but I think when I saw that, I was thinking like, this is like nobody believes this.
Right.
Obviously, like
it seems too impossible to be true. Yeah.
Cocaine is super expensive. Why give it to dogs? It's like, it was so funny to me. I think, but I think with the people that we've talked to, they seem to feel like, because of course sometimes sport athletes like the dogs fall and trip or have an accident or something,
right?
But when that happens, like the videos are being edited in smaller formats where they're like cut off, and then people are told that the dog died or something like that,
Yeah.
And so I think the news also picks up on that because it's like interesting or clickbaity, or it's not a very nuanced picture of what's going on,
right?
And I think everyone deserves to know what it's really like, kind of. And
it's really funny if I can comment on that, Joseph, because I went to the rodeo for the first time the other day, and there were animal rights activists outside with big signs of, when the calves are down and they've been roped, and then that was just the image. Right. But like, obviously it's like this hundreds of years old discipline, and they're down for like a second,
right?
And they're not hurt or anything like that. And I was just like, oh, this is just these are the same people who probably never, if they would just take the time to go in there and see how this actually takes place, it would be they wouldn't have anything to be against, I think. Yeah. And so it's, like Josefine is saying, it's just these very manipulated small things that the general public are shown, and then maybe people don't have the time to take the time to look into it. Then they just see that image and they're like, okay, this is bad.
Yeah, it's like we talk about it on the podcast sometimes, and I'll get your guys' thoughts on this. But do you think social media, with such a handheld access in the small like time span in which you can scroll by something, see a picture of something, and that's automatically your outlook as far as what the whole industry represents, do you think that a majority of, like we're talking about the negativity, and I think you guys have alluded to it, it's just uneducation. It's people aren't educated about what is actually going on in the entirety of the industry. I mean, there's no firsthand experience about all the intricacies of what's going on inside the industry. Do you think that there's so much, especially with different stuff throughout the news and the world, there's so many knee-jerk reactions to different things on social media. Do you think that plays a role into the negativity surrounding the industry?
Yeah, totally. And I think there's also money in the social media industry too. But I think it's like, if you don't react on an emotional level to this image of a dog suffering, you're a terrible person. If you also don't share it on your Facebook, you're a terrible person. If you don't donate to this organization, you're a terrible person. And so on. So we're like, social media is either built on like, I wish it was me, or thank God it's not me, I think. Because it's like, the thank God it's not me, or my dog, or oh no, it's like this guilt trippy thing where it's not the entire image, because obviously it's so much more nuanced. Also with the I wish it was me, like, this person is probably not on Bahamas like 8 out of 12 months, and like, it's like, we're like, if you take social media as a fact or as a reality, I think there's like some valuable stuff that you'll miss out on. And I think we're also judging each other, like, because it is also like, the film is also about small town communities and subcultures, and I think people that other people have prejudice, just excuse my Danglish, but like, have all these ideas about. And well, Lin and I have a brother with the mental disability, and I think for us it's also like, there's so many people who have all these ideas of what it's like to live a life with a mental disability, that when it's cut off to being just this or just that, we get so frustrated, because we want to show that it's not just that, and it's like a bunch of other stuff, and that it's not just, oh, I was so sorry to hear that you have a brother with mental disability. Like, it's not just a burden, right. It's also a gift. And I think you don't get those nuances when you just click on your Instagram feed and see like what's popular to post or something.
Lin,
like
what do
that.
you think about that?
Well, I was gonna say, in terms of the campaigning against the dog raising industry, I know that in Florida there were billboards that were paid for to sway the public in a certain direction, so that they could then bring up the vote that then would lead to the tracks closing. And I think it's like a very fast and like kind of manipulative way to even bring anything up to the public. And so it's very not nuanced, like Josefine is saying. And I think like where we live in Copenhagen and Los Angeles, people don't, I mean, not everybody, but I think people live very different lives than people do in Wheeling, but we also have a lot of things in common. But I think it's people out here maybe don't know much about like what is crucial to the lives of people living in Wheeling.
Sure.
And we're also, we want to kind of, I mean, this is a very high ambition, but we would like that for there to be a little bit more bridging between how we, or an openness to how each other's lives are different, and like not just saying, because we learned this term, or we know this term, flyover states, and it was really funny because I sent this song to you the other day, this Jason Aldean.
Yeah, Jarrett knows him really well. Yeah.
His flyover state song, and I was laughing so hard because he's singing like about these two people on a flight from New York to LA, and they look down, and then it's something like they're wondering like who'd want to live down there in the middle of nowhere. And then the whole song takes a turn to like be this like proud anthem about the middle of the country. And I just love that. And I was like, oh my God, that's like our anthem now for the film, because it's such a like, it just says, it's such a good way to say there's so much you don't know about these places that you've never been. And, you know, when we in Wheeling, and we've just met really great people, and it's a great community and a great town, and West Virginia is beautiful, and like no one out here I think knows that. I can't say everybody.
It's very easy to sit on the coastal lands and like post a picture of a sad greyhound on your Facebook, and you know, it's like
right.
Yeah.
It's easy to do that. It's going back also to the question of social media. It's like, yeah, it's easy. I mean, we see it every day, right? Like it's very easy to pretend you have opinions about things you know absolutely nothing about.
Yep. Indeed.
Yeah.
Coach, what do you think about this?
Yeah. Girls, this is really intriguing to me. I've been enjoying listening to this a lot. I have a lot of questions. I won't ask them all, but I've got several that I just interest me. Are you guys? But first of all, did you grow up dog lovers?
Yeah, we used to have a dog called Bernie. When I was little, I unfortunately can't really remember him other than being really huge, but he was a rescue circus dog. Maybe Lin can tell.
Yeah, so there was this circus, and they had this circus queen dog. And then, so she had puppies, and then out of all the puppies, there was this one dog, and they were like, there's no way we are going to be able to train this dog. Like, they could just see. And so our family, that was already like, with our brother and us, we were young, like chaos. So we figured, our parents thought, well, let's get a crazy dog. So we did, and
one that can't even be trained to be in the circus, you know.
Oh yeah, no. So we grew up with him, and he would like steal chicken from like chicken coos and like kids' rabbits, and so we did grow up with quite a wild dog.
Oh, okay. So this isn't more. This is more of a human interest story about like small towns and jobs and people's families that are being affected by people that are misinformed about a certain industry. So we're glad it's about the Greyhounds because it brought you here, but this is a human interest story that will grab people that say, hey, here's Wheeling just trying to make families have a job and have a nice living, and it's being torn down because of misinformation. Is that sort of what I'm gathering?
Yeah, I think also because I was thinking the other day, I'm like, oh, it could have been anywhere in America that there was these like two last racetracks, and then we would have gone there, right? And then I'm like, wait, but then we would have never been to Wheeling.
Yeah.
Like that's, I don't think, like it wasn't initially about also the local community like that, like the broader picture, but as soon as we got there, it became that too, because we just saw that it was not just the paddock and the people working there, it was everyone. And we've also been talking to like local house owners and like a 53-year-old down our street, and that had nothing to do with the racetrack per se, but they were still part of the culture there. And I think, it was just so special for us that we could add that perspective on to the film, because it is about small communities being shut down by maybe people who have never been to a small community or lived in one.
Okay.
We also,
let me add to that.
No, go ahead.
Let me add to that question a little bit. So where several parts of this. Where are you with the film? Like, I don't know if I want to say percentage wise, or how much more do you have to do, and why? And you might have already said this, and I didn't catch it. Why is it called America's Last Race?
I think, do you want to answer, Lin?
No, you go ahead.
I think it was initially, we thought it was just like funny because it's like America and it's like that race with the dogs but then it became like so much bigger to us than just that. It's like, wait, but it's also a race against like urbanization or globalization and like all these industries being shut down or moved out of the small towns or moved to China or whatever. And I think in that sense, the humans are also like kind of a, what's a synonym in English? Like a symbol of the dogs somehow.
You got
it. That makes sense. Yeah.
And how far along are you with the documentary, the film, whatever you want to call it, and how much more do you hope to complete? And then at the end, is it going to be a series, or is it going to be a one movie? What's the plan for that?
Well, I think right now we're pretty open regarding the format. Yeah, Lin.
Mine says 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Hey, so here's what we'll do. Let's take a little break because we got to restart the Zoom. I don't know why that's doing that, but anyway, let's take like a super quick break and then we'll start it back up again. I think Chris is going to be here, and then we can open the.
Then we'll go back to that question.
Yes, exactly, because that's a really important one that we definitely want to discuss. So, all right,
definitely.
We're going to hang up with you really quick and then get you back on here in a second.
Okay,
great.
All right.
I might have an IQ of a boiled egg, but I like listening to the Pine Room Podcast. You are listening now to the Pine Room Podcast.
All right, welcome back in. It's the Pine Room Podcast here, episode number 79. We are pleased to be joined once again by Lin and Josephine. They are the creators of America's Last Race, which is going to be a documentary on the dog racing industry and from a positive light. And we're very happy to have you ladies here on the Pine Room. And Coach, before we took a break, Coach had a question that he wants to continue on with here.
Yeah, I'll just bring the listeners back up to speed on the question. I wanted to know where you were with the actual film, and is it going to be a series? Is it just going to be a film? And why was it called America's Last Race?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I think America's Last Race came before we actually went out there, because we're like, that's a great title, and it's like dramatic, and it has America in it, and it has race in it. Mm-hmm. And we felt like there was really a race against like the animal rights activists or whatever, like negative imagery that was being created, and then the people working there like really willing to bite back at those people, right? So it was like kind of like a race between those two groups of people, but also now it's been like, it's super obvious to us that it's like also a race not against necessarily, but I think it has a lot to do with like bigger cities versus smaller communities, and like all these industries that are being moved out of the smaller towns. And it's like, what is Wheeling gonna look like, for instance, in 100 years, if the coastal lines keep deciding what's like going on or whatever? And yeah, so it has like that meaning too.
So almost a race against time, almost.
Yeah,
almost. Yeah, and we've seen, because we also talked to a lot of people about the history of Wheeling and all the industries that were there, and also it's not just like all the industries are leaving. There are also people making new things. And, like a lot of you guys that work together, there are a lot of generations that have businesses that don't want to leave, of course. So it's really like a race in so many ways that I guess can be interpreted in so many ways, but also, of course, alluding to the dog races. And we definitely don't it's also like has a double meaning, because of course we hope that this won't be for the sake of the dogs and all the people working in that industry, and for all the other people in the communities and in West Virginia. We sure hope it's not America's last Greyhound race, of course. So it has many meanings. And what we do with documentaries is that when we've worked on projects before, we don't just come in and film for 2 weeks, or and then leave and then try to make a film out of that. Like for us, it's really important to keep coming back. And also we love being in Wheeling, but also we want to give that nuanced picture of everything that's going on in people's lives. And we know that takes time, because there are also we understand that because the Greyhound racing community has experienced a lot of negativity from the outside. We also understand that you can't just come as a stranger and just show up and with a camera and be like, okay, guys, let's go. So some people are very willing and open the first time, and some, might take a little while. Some don't, there are a lot of different reasons for us to keep coming back, but the plan is to keep coming back for the coming year. And what we're trying to do right now is to raise the money to do that, so that also we're not like Josefine said in the beginning, we're not like tied up with a broadcaster who wants us to put a certain angle on it. That's really important to us. So at this stage, it's very independently made. Also, we think it's easier for us to have the guard down, which is really important when we come and meet everybody in Wheeling and in the racing community. So we're hoping to keep coming back for another year at least.
Yes.
So back to the question, I think we're like maybe, I would say like roughly around like maybe we filmed like 10% so far.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
a long way
We
to
were
go.
there for we were there for 2 weeks, and I think that was just as much a like getting to know the people and like creating that intimacy and trust between one another. Because as Lin says, of course you're gonna be like, oh, because there's so many people at the gate trying to like do things differently. But I think also what we experienced was that actually these people really, really, really also have an interest in showing what it is really like in a larger format than some video on social media. So they're also very keen on inviting us in. But yeah, so now we've financed it ourselves so far, the film. So now we're doing fundraising to go back in December to see the beautiful lights in Wheeling.
Oh yeah. Festival of Lights. Hey, talk a little bit, since you ladies brought that up, talk a little bit about how people can help you out in your GoFundMe and other ways to try to help the project grow.
Yeah, so right now
go dig deep in your sorry.
Right now we set up a GoFundMe for with a goal of $4,000, which will take me from Denmark and Lin from LA to Wheeling, and pay for us to stay there for 2 weeks during December and film the next material. Yeah, so that's we'll share the GoFundMe with you guys, and you can like share it as much as you want.
We'd love to.
hopefully some local resources can be put into it. If other people than us have the same like view on things, we would love to also just meet with like-minded people, and if anyone wants to be interviewed or like give their thoughts or whatever, like we're not only looking for like financial
Sure. Yeah.
funds, but also to create more contacts, and as you said, like visit some more people.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you a good a whole colony of people to interview when you come back. Here
Yeah,
for sure.
and girls, I think
great.
you're gonna be well received here, as you've already been, because this has been a fight going on here in Wheeling for quite a while now. They've tried to shut Greyhound racing down many, many times, which I'm sure you guys are aware of now. And there's been big hearings here. The governor's been here. There's been advocates on both sides fighting to save it, fighting to get rid of Greyhound. So the people here in Wheeling are going to welcome you with open arms, and I'm sure that if you reach out to the right people, we can help you, that many people will be more than willing to help in whatever way they can to get this documentary out. And if it goes big, that would be really help to personal friends of ours that are involved. We actually owned a Greyhound. We had a Greyhound that was a AA runner many years ago.
A AA runner? We know exactly what that means.
That's great.
Wow.
JJ's jet. He made us a little bit of money, but it was more about fun and watching him run. And so we've been involved a little bit too, not nearly to the extent that our friends are, but Steve Saris, I don't know whether you have met Steve or not. He is we've
talked to him. We haven't yet met him.
Yes, well, when you come in December, we are going to 100% hook you up with him, because he is the voice of Greyhound racing.
And he's the chairperson of the West Virginia Greyhound Society.
That's correct, Matt.
Right.
Yeah, the association.
So he would be the point man for you to get you in a lot of directions to different ways with people that have adopted Greyhounds, the workers, the people that are just in the industry, and people that work at the casino. And so we will, as Matt said, we'll hook you up with a lot of people, and we'll give you the real tour of Wheeling.
Also,
we're really appreciative of it.
If you guys
sorry.
No, you go.
Go ahead, Josephine.
It's really it's such a great help for us, because like this week, the National Greyhound Association has the fall meetup, and we were invited to go, but because we weren't able to raise the funds to go. So, that's just documentary or filmmaking. You can't always raise the money you need for a certain, that's just how it works. But we were really humbled that we were invited to that, because because of all the anti-Greyhound racing people. So I think hopefully we can just continue the work, and all you guys' help is like so great for us. And
very key.
And what you said, Coach, too, we like to think that it will be like that it can reach a lot of people in the end, because that's, of course, making films. It would be great for people all over the US, but in Europe too, to see something like this and really get that deeper understanding of everything that's going on, especially in Wheeling.
Yeah, and what would really be cool for us is then we could say we know two really famous people.
Exactly.
we don't know a whole lot of famous people, and we could add you guys to our list, our short list of famous people. So that's exciting for us.
And we're also talking about how fun could it be to premiere the film in the Capitol.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just have roll out the red carpet, get everyone invited, bring some dogs out.
That'd be huge for the
really
city.
Cool.
The city would love that.
Now I have to ask one more question. I'll turn over these guys. Lin, I hear you call her Josefine. Is there J's aren't pronounced? Do I know that?
I don't
know.
You're laughing. She's calling her Josephine. You guys didn't pick up on that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But
That's
I'm in the Danish
such,
language.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have such a good ear.
The
yeah,
J's are not pronounced, correct?
You know why, Lin?
Yeah.
He's got a great ear because he's also a public address announcer, so getting people's names correctly is very important to him.
So,
he takes it very seriously.
But you didn't say you said you.
All right.
Josephine.
Josephine, yeah.
I think in Danish, I would say Josefine. And then in English, I would probably say Josephine. So the middle way that Lin is saying is
Josephine. Josephine.
Well, when you come back,
yeah.
when you come back, we want to say it right. We don't want to say it wrong. We want to say Josephine.
Yeah,
Josephine.
Josephine.
Josefina.
No,
That's good.
Josephine. What happened?
He sounded French right there.
Josephine.
Yeah, right.
Josephine. But and one more thing, we got to get you some Greyhound gear from Charter Kennel. We got to get you some T-shirts and sweatshirts so that you can come sporting the gear for the Greyhounds.
We
love
would
that.
love that.
So you stay in touch with Matt, give him your sizes and your addresses, and we'll make sure that you get some gear.
Oh, would love that.
We already have the
guys
bracelet, but not the T-shirt yet.
The first Greyhound racing track in America was in California in 1990. 1919.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I'm like, you guys.
Yeah. What are they missing now?
Yeah. I'm so sad.
I want to ask a question just to rewind way to the beginning. How did you guys get involved in filmmaking? Where did that start?
Well, we have like different paths, but I think as sisters also we share like pretty much all the same interests. Maybe like I came to the dog racing sooner than Josefine, but the filmmaking
was a little bit older, so
yeah. So I studied visual anthropology, and it was very academic, and it's a 5-year degree, and it's all books. And I was like, wait, like storytelling to me is also like telling stories that reach people and that don't just stay in a contained academic environment. And so I started working with documentaries right out of school, like working on other people's projects, because I think the same with this project. It's like reaching like a broad audience and telling stories about things that they may not know anything about, such as like greyhound racing, to me is like really valuable storytelling. And so it kind of just has gone from there, and then working with other people, and then been able to do some projects ourselves. And then when Jose was in school, she would work with me too. So yeah, that's kind of where it all started. But I think our brother was always like taking up the TV. Like we couldn't watch TV because the TV, like he didn't constantly watch TV, but like we didn't watch a lot of TV growing up because like he needed to watch his little thing. So I think like our imaginations are probably like developed pretty like a lot, and like imagination and just ideas, because they had to
look
kind
at
of
people instead of
So,
we didn't grow up watching like Alfred Hitchcock films or anything. I think that's come a little later. I think for us, it's, as Lin says, it's like the need to tell these stories, and like we were talking about earlier, that are not always told very with very much like nuance or depth.
There you go. You got it.
Word.
You got it.
That's a real tongue thruster.
Josefina.
So I think that it's like, because if you want to like be rich, I think you would never do documentaries. There's no money in it at all. But like, I think if you do it, then it's because you can't stay away from trying to tell those stories that other people maybe not might not be telling.
Yeah.
We're
always curious about the people that no one else is looking at, and we're like, wait, why doesn't anyone else see this? And then we're like, well, okay. So, but I think also growing up with a brother who wants to talk to every stranger you meet on the street, like everybody, that's also that's a tribute to him. Like we definitely have done that since we were kids. So
yep.
We have developed. Yeah.
How old is your brother? Tell us a little bit about your brother. You said he has a mental disability?
Yeah.
Oh
my God, we would love for him to come.
How old is he?
He's 2 years. He's 35.
He's 35.
He's 35. Yeah. He speaks his own version of sign language and words.
Okay.
Because when he was a kid, he would tease the speech therapist, so they could never really get him to learn what they wanted him to learn. Wow. So he developed his own version of sign language and words. And
which
then,
I think only we speak in the family, like.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked is I taught school for 35 years. I taught special education, so I taught a lot of different categories of special education. So, and these guys were around special because they were always in my classroom, and they were around. And Matt knows a lot of them, so we would have a ball with him if he ever got to meet him.
Would love it.
Yep. He's definitely coming to the premiere in the Capitol.
Oh my goodness! We'll get him a front row seat.
Yeah.
Now, are your parents? If you don't mind asking, are your parents still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And what is their take on this whole project?
I think they support us a lot. I think they obviously, when it's like your kids doing something, they're not like the most unbiased people to give us feedback, but they really like enjoy when we send them little things and like involve them in the process. And I think they see that we like thankfully have each other as partners in life and on so many levels, and that's like, I think we probably wouldn't do any of this if it was like only one of us, right. To be honest. It's like, so I think they enjoy seeing their daughters do work together too. And we're very family oriented.
We can really relate to you guys all being related.
Yeah. Yes. Now, where do your parents live?
In Denmark.
They're with you, close to you? Josefine?
Well, like 3 hours, which is far in Denmark, but close, I guess, in American standards.
Well, when this goes big, too, we got to get your parents here to Wheeling, and they got to see Wheeling.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
they would love it.
Habit moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Good, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys got any?
No.
How about you, ladies? Do you have any questions for us? Anything that obviously we stay in touch a lot, and we're gonna coach and I will continue to work to get things set up for your return trip, hopefully. But is there anything you want to ask of our group, or if there's anything else that you want to highlight that maybe we missed that maybe our listeners would enjoy knowing about the project or about you yourselves?
I have a question. Do you think, because we've really found that a lot of people the people we've met who have a lot of hope for Wheeling, it's like they're in some kind of generational business. Do you I guess do you know a lot of people in Wheeling that are working in a generational business or work together, family? Because that's our experience. And why do you think that is, maybe?
Coach, you're probably prepared to answer this better than any of us.
I would say most of the businesses here in Wheeling are generational, and I think it's just because people like it here, and they stay and they raise their families here. It's a very good place, nice place to grow up.
Safe,
it's
relatively safe.
Economically, it's affordable. It's beautiful, not right now because of all the, but one day it's going to be back. And I don't know if you're familiar with the history of Wheeling, but it was a very flourishing city at one time. I mean, very, very flourishing. We can show you pictures of when the streets were packed at Christmas time, and the hustle and bustle, and all the stores were open, and the revitalization is coming back. And I think that's why people stay, because it's a very family oriented, very inviting place to be, as you guys learned in your short time here. And I think you'll love it. And the people here are very friendly, very outgoing, and I think you'll when you guys come back, you'll even enjoy it more once you get to know all of us too, and we can sort
Definitely.
of. It's always nice to have a guide, when you're out of your element, to get you
Totally.
to feel comfortable. So we're
Definitely.
going to guide you in that way and make you feel at home and make you feel like family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is
love
so
that.
kind.
Yeah, it's
I
so
think
kind of you.
That's the feeling you get when you drive like into Wheeling, or like and on the island and over the bridge and under the tunnel, and it's like, yeah, it's just super inviting. Like, I've never even been to a place in America that inviting, I don't think.
Dang, that's
You
good to
know,
hear.
it's really nice to hear that from people that are outside the area, like especially even outside of the U.S., because you'll find here that as much as there are people that love it here, there are also the amount of people that hate it here, that despise it.
We bitch and moan a lot about
Yes.
it, but
Yes.
it is our home, and we are proud of it, no doubt.
But I think a lot of people do see what you guys see, especially being here for a long time. Like, I've grown up here for 25 years, and we've got to see it be the streets get just destroyed with construction, and then there's sometimes when it looks beautiful. I mean, like Coach was saying, they used to call it Little Chicago when it was really hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
And my whole life I've wanted it to come back to that, and I think it's slowly coming back. But yeah, I think it's just a really interconnected place, and we can't wait to have you guys here sometime down the line.
Well,
Thank you.
smaller towns are definitely the future, if you ask me. And we see the same thing in Denmark. It's like the smaller towns like have way more to offer than people think.
Yeah.
And I think because we're not all gonna live in the big cities, like we also can't afford that, and it's not, I don't think, idealistic either. So it's like, I think Wheeling haven't even like seen how popular it can be yet, probably.
Yes. Are you guys beer
we
drinkers? Are you guys beer drinkers?
Oh, totally.
Yes.
We're dating.
Hey,
you're beer drinker.
hey, tell Coach what beer you guys tried over at Abby's for the first time, and the one that I bought you.
Oh, Bud Light.
Yeah, that's
Really?
That's
But
his beer.
that was because George was drinking it, so we were like, we'll have to have it. George is having.
Yep.
He looks experienced.
Oh yeah, just a little.
He's seasoned.
Now here's an interesting factoid. I'm not sure if you know that. You know that we have our own beer, Pine Room Lager. Do you guys know that?
I think Matt told us about it, but
because
we
they had it at Abby's actually, and we didn't end up getting them.
You can see the can up here on the shelf. It's we teamed with the biggest brewery here in West Virginia, and teamed up with them and came up with our own recipe, and it is distributed throughout the whole state of West Virginia. So was one of the most popular beers in the state for a while.
Oh my God, that's for the premiere.
there we
Everyone
go.
has to drink the Pine Room beer at the premiere.
Yes. Pine Room's a good idea.
great
Pine Room
idea.
Lager.
Okay.
Pine Room Lager. Yep.
Oh my God,
Pine Room
everywhere
See
we
my
go in
hat?
America.
Pine Room Lager. Yes.
But yeah, in the
amazing.
end, guys, I think Lin and I were talking about like how we could, in a fun way, because for us, like everything from $1 to $100 counts,
Right.
and we're thinking about like how we could like do fun stuff to make people donate just like a very small amount or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, the National Greyhound Association do this fundraising thing where you get to name the puppies.
Yes.
And like,
Yes.
obviously we don't have any puppies to name.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you guys think of anything, like if people on Facebook know anything about or have ideas as
Okay.
to what, like,
We just think it could be really funny something about betting just because we really enjoy betting on the dogs. So,
Well, you're talking to the right guys
Yes.
when it comes to that.
yeah,
Definitely.
we're
Beer,
like,
drinking,
how
and
can we
gambling.
make this
Yeah.
kind of gambling, betting something.
I like
Okay.
it. I think we can definitely come up with some ideas. We'll put our
We're
Pine Room
throwing
heads
it out
together.
there.
Definitely.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
I like
We'll
it.
Yeah.
We'll
And if
definitely
your listeners have
revisit
any
that
ideas,
soon.
feel free to let us know too.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. All right, I think that's all we got for you for right now. But man, that was really, really fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We're gonna keep in touch with you. You guys obviously talk to me regularly, so we'll keep in touch. We're going to obviously promote you as much as we can and share this with as many people when it comes out later in the week. So we're in your corner 100%, and we think the people from Wheeling
Thank
and the
you.
whole area are going to get behind you. And like Coach said, so many people in this area, I think you're going to kind of be like the guiding light to maybe saving their jobs and their futures. So with this positive spin here, and I think it's awesome, and it does. It warms all of our hearts here. So
We want everybody to come visit Wheeling. Like, so I hope too that there are like Wheeling t-shirts somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We,
The
we-
Wheeling
we'll hook
feeling.
you
Wheeling
t-shirt.
feeling.
Wheeling
That's
feeling.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Put it on our store.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so
Okay,
much.
well, thank you.
Yep, we'll talk
Thank
to you
you so
soon, and
much.
yep, stay safe, and we'll be in touch.
You
Be in
too.
touch. Thank you so
All
much.
right,
See you later.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.